On va partir. Yes, sir! Miller! Hey, salut tout le monde! Bon mardi! J'espère que vous allez bien. Donc, pour ceux et celles qui ne me connaissent pas, mon nom c'est Camille. Je suis une promotrice indépendante avec Prove It depuis... Je commence en fait ma 5e année. Je vis de ça de temps plein. Je trippe à tous les jours. J'ai envie de me lever et de voir vos beaux visages pour travailler avec vous autres. Donc, aujourd'hui, Rhino Run numéro 39. 39, c'est incroyable. C'est fou raide, je capote. Je trouve que votre engagement est incroyable. Donc là, tout le monde, levez votre main dans les airs. Put your hands up and tap. Yes, good job. OK? Pour vrai, tapez-vous l'épaule. Vous êtes là, vous vous engagez. C'est incroyable. Attends, je vais juste enlever mon son. Donc, aujourd'hui, OK? Le sujet, on en parle vraiment beaucoup de ce temps-ci parce qu'on est toutes les meilleures personnes pour donner du temps, donner de la nourriture, donner de l'amour. Mais qu'en est-il de recevoir? Donc, aujourd'hui, c'est Nate qui va nous parler de recevoir. Donner, c'est bien beau, mais il faut être capable aussi de recevoir. Et qui ici, à main levée, est mal à l'aise quand c'est le temps de recevoir quelque chose? Un cadeau, un compliment. Hein? On est toutes mal à l'aise à quelque part, à quelque temps. Puis, ce que je trouve, puis vous la savez l'histoire, mais il faut la raconter encore une fois. Nate, c'est la personne qui, dans notre vie, a fait une grosse différence pour recevoir parce que dans le moment qu'on s'est rencontrés, on n'était pas capable de donner énormément. On donnait de notre temps, on donnait de notre énergie, on donnait de notre passion envers Prove It, mais on n'était pas capable de donner de choses concrètes, donner un cadeau, donner de l'argent, payer quelque chose. Et Nate nous a vraiment appris que dans la vie, donner, c'est correct, c'est vraiment hot, mais il faut être capable de recevoir. Et je me souviendrai toujours de cette fois-là, encore une fois, à Montréal, à Laval, on a fait un petit événement avec Julie Lévesque, pour ceux et celles qui se souviennent, c'est qui. On avait dormi à l'hôtel et quand on est arrivé à l'hôtel, Nate, il n'y avait pas de place pour tout le monde, fait qu'il a dormi à terre. J'étais vraiment fâchée, mais en même temps, j'ai pilé sur mon orgueil puis je me suis dit, bon, encore une fois, je me suis fait avoir. So, Nate, I was talking about the time that you were in Montreal with us and you sleep on the floor for us. So, I think the team is ready for you today. Are you?
Awesome. Thank you, Camille. My dog was just barking the second I got on here, so it's all good. So I want to talk to you guys today about something that's very important. It may seem completely disconnected from what we do, but it's not. I'll tell you why. Okay, because in order to connect with people, you have to be able to live outside of yourself. Okay? You have to be able to live outside yourself. Albert Einstein said it like this. He said, a person first starts to live when he can live outside of himself. Okay, and for me, this is a challenge because I'm a very deep thinker. I'm a person that likes to go inside. I like to analyze things. And what Albert Einstein is saying, and he was, I think, like that too, but what he's saying is you really truly start to live when you can get outside of yourself and you can experience the world outside of yourself with no expectations. Okay? And so we're going to talk about giving and receiving. Okay? Giving and receiving. You will find and I want you to pay attention to what goes on when we talk about certain things. You will find one of these things a challenge for you. You'll either find the giving part or you'll find the receiving part. Maybe you'll find both of them a challenge. Okay? Very, very successful people. So I've spent a lot of time with successful people. And one thing I've noticed, or I should say I haven't noticed, is I've never noticed a successful person that was stingy. I've never noticed a successful person that didn't have a heart of giving. Okay, stingy, heart of giving. So there's a big difference between the energy that you bring to the table when it comes to thriving and surviving. Okay? To thrive means to to become more, to be focused on moving forward, to become more. Surviving is just making it. It's just, how am I going to make it to tomorrow? It's a defensive. So scarcity mindset or defensive mindset is I'm going to go here. I'm going to protect everything that I have because I don't know when I'm going to receive anything else again. Okay. Abundance is giving because you know that things freely come into your life so that you can freely give them out to your life. We got a principle. That's why in our church we practice giving, right? We believe that God blesses us and then we can just give through and we can give through that, right? We can give through that because we're always going to be receiving. So we're always going to be giving. And this is the principle that we operate on. Okay. I want to read you guys something. In 2001, Stephen King. Who's heard of Stephen King before? The famous horror author. We're getting close to Halloween. I want to read his graduation speech from college in 2001. Okay. And I want you to see if you can pick up on a few things. This is before he did a lot of things. Okay. This is before he was a big novelist. And this is before he hit a bunch of things out of the park. That human life is brief when it's placed in time's wilder perspective. Something we all know. I'm asking you to consider a more visceral level, that's all. Well, what are you going to do? Well, I'll tell you one thing you're not going to do. You're not going to take it with you. We come in naked and broke. We may be dressed up when we go out, but we're just as broke. Warren Buffett, going to go out broke. Bill Gates, going to go out broke. President Ferguson, going to go out broke. Steve King, broke. You guys, broke. Not a crying dime between you. So he's talking about you can't take anything with you when you go, right? Charles Poliquin, the late, great Charles Poliquin used to say, I don't want to be the richest guy in the cemetery. Okay? So you got to recognize that life is finite. You only have a certain amount of time. So everything that you get in your life is not meant for you to have. It's meant for you to release some of it and bless other people with it. Should you give away what you have? Stephen King says, of course you should. I want you to consider making your lives one long gift to others. Why not? All the other stuff you have is just on loan. All you want to get out of the getting place, you may dream about retirement fund. Some guy will try to sell you sooner or later. None of that is real. All that lasts in this world is what you pass on. The rest is smoke and mirrors. Giving isn't about the receiver or the gift, but the giver. It's for the giver. One doesn't open up one's wallet to improve the world, although it's nice when that happens. One opens up one's wallet to improve oneself. I give because it's the only concrete way of saying I'm glad to be alive, and I can earn my daily bread by doing what I love. I hope that you'll be similar grateful to be alive, and you'll be glad to do whatever you wind up doing. Giving is a way of taking the focus off the money we make and putting it back to where we belong, the lives we lead, the families we raise, the communities we nurture. So again, I ask you the next great phase of your life by giving, and continue as you begin, and you'll find you'll get more than you ever had and do more good than you've ever dreamed. So I want to encourage you for one thing, because I read that quote out of the John Maxwell book that I'm reading right now called Leader Shift. And what John Maxwell says in this particular part of the chapter is that he has never met somebody that isn't a giver or that doesn't have a heart of giving. That's a really good connector. So why is that important for what we do? Do we want to connect with people? Yes or no? How about this? Do we need to connect with people to carry this conversation forward? Yes or no? Yes. And so I'm here to propose to you that maybe, just maybe, that one of the blocks that you may have with connecting with people is that you don't have a heart of giving. Okay? And that if we can hone our heart of giving, our heart of generosity, then maybe, just maybe, we'd be able to connect with more people. Because think about this for a second. you know, one of the aspects we think about giving financially, we think about, you know, Camille said, you know, sleeping on the floor. We think about, you know, buying someone a coffee. Mick always tells the story about buying him a coffee in Dallas, and he had a hard time. I want to talk about that one in a second. But there's other things, there's other ways that you can give too, right? Do you know how you, oh, is it Vegas? It was Vegas. And so giving, someone that's a giver is also a good listener, right? So you may be good at giving money, but you maybe not be good at giving your ear to people. And so, you know, pay attention. Are you the type of person that knows, that thinks they know what someone's going to say before they finish their sentence? Are you ready to jump in the second they stop talking and finish what they're going to say? Are you assuming that you understand where they're going with things? Do you have a lack of curiosity when someone's explaining something to you because you think you've already figured out what they're trying to say? Listeners listen, and listeners ask questions. And listeners, like Jordan Peterson said, assume that the person in front of you knows something that you don't. Always assume that the person standing in front of you, whether it's your husband, your wife, your spouse, it can be more difficult the closer these people are to you, by the way, because you think you know them because you've been around them so many times that you stop listening to them. And one of the biggest problems that couples face is communication issues. And it's not that they're not talking at each other, it's that nobody's listening to each other. Okay? And so I want to propose to you, especially in the people that you're really close with, if you want to better your relationships, start listening to them more. Okay? Something I need to work on. Become a better listener. Practice this every day. Okay? I want to challenge you guys to practice being a better listener every day. That's going to help you. So when we're in the marketplace and we are trying to sell ketones, okay? Because that's kind of what we do. What you need to do, what you need to establish is, why on earth would someone be attracted to this conversation? Why on earth would someone want to, you know, get on a 10-day challenge? Why on earth would someone want to be in a reboot? Why would someone want to be on your team? Okay, if you want to build a team, you have to really get good at listening, because you have to help people meet. You have to meet them where they want to be met, not where you want them to meet you. And I want to challenge leaders on this one, because it gets harder and harder the further you get down the road, because you become so goal driven and goal orientated that you lose track that every single tiny little person, not tiny as in small, but every single person that makes up the piece of the puzzle has their own hopes, dreams, desires that need to be met. And so we're in an age where we're connected to a whole bunch of people, right? We're connected to like every one of you guys is connected to like hundreds and hundreds of people. And every single one of those people that you're connected with has their own ambitions, their own dreams, their own hopes. And if you give them, okay, this may sound completely different from the whole giving thing, but I promise you this, it's not. Generous people are also good listeners. Generous people are also good listeners, right? So when you give something away, what you're doing is actually posturing yourself to receive as well. All right? Because you're releasing your hold on something. And when you release your hold on something, guess what? So I'm holding something like this. How am I supposed to receive it? Anything else? I can't. I'm holding on too tightly. When you release something, guess what? Both of my arms are wide open, and now I can receive. Okay? Most people nowadays, and if you look at the world, are so entrenched in their positions, they're so entrenched in a scarcity mindset, they're so entrenched in trying to survive that they do not even understand how to thrive. So if you can get this one point, you're going to stand out in the marketplace, whatever you're trying to do. Okay? You're going to stand out above everybody else. if you can develop a heart of generosity. Many, many people are so sick and tired in the health and fitness industry of people trying to meet their own expectations. Ego-driven, people that are trying to, achieve something, and they're trying to use people as a means to an end. Having a heart of gratitude is about releasing things into the world and creating a ripple effect. Now, some of you guys are like, okay, I get it. I got to be a good giver. And some of you guys have a different kind of mindset. And I want to touch on this too. You have a mindset where it's like, okay, Nate, I get it. The people around me matter. The people around me, I got to meet their needs. I got to, moms especially, I think, I meet everybody around me's needs, but what about my own needs? What about the things that I need? Can I receive something as much as I'd be willing to give it? Can I receive something with as much joy and with worthiness? So I want to tell you a story. When I was going through some stuff, when I got back from overseas, I went and saw a counselor. So I went to Afghanistan a couple of times, veteran, saw a counselor on numerous occasions. And there was this exercise I went through where we took a look at the critical aspects of my character. So we took a look at the negative aspects of my character. And me being the self-improvement guy, I'm like, okay, this is great. I can fix that. That's right. I had no problem receiving the bad. But then when he started to read off the good things about my character, I started actually deflecting with humor. So I started joking around. I started laughing. I had a tough time receiving the good things. I had a tough time I could receive the bad from the world, but I had a tough time receiving the good from the world. And so some of you guys have a tough time being celebrated. Sometimes some of you guys have a tough time when people give you stuff. Some people have a tough time, and it's really a self-worth thing, right? It's a self-worth thing, and it also can be a selfish thing, okay? Because look at that speech that I read from Stephen King. Who gets the value from giving? It's the giver, right? So if you refuse something that someone gives you, or if you say, oh, no, you don't have to, you don't have to bother with me. What you're doing is you're shutting down their blessing, right? You're shutting down your blessing, which is a selfish thing because you're so internally focused. You're so internally focused on what you want and how you feel that you can't give someone the opportunity to feel good by giving to you. Okay? And so some of you guys have a really tough time, and this sometimes sneaks in little ways. Like I didn't realize it. If I didn't have a counselor in front of me that was really switched on, I wouldn't have known that I had this issue, but I just did a little bit of a joke, right? I had no problem receiving the bad stuff, but I would do a little bit of a joke when people would say nice things about me. Do a little bit of a joke, right? And that was just a way to kind of not receive it. It was kind of a way to put a filter on what I was getting, so I didn't have to be in the spotlight. I didn't have to shine. And so I want to encourage you in that aspect. So if you are a good receiver, then you can be a good giver. And if you're a good giver, then you can be a good receiver because you understand the concepts. They both work together. They both work together. Now, one thing I want to tell you, though, is do not give with expectation attached to it. Do not give with expectation attached to it, because this is where things get a little manipulative, right? It's like, I don't know if I should use this example or not. It's like for your married couple, it's like the back rub, right? It's like the back rub. It's the whole joke around it. It's the back rub. There's something else attached to the back rub, right? You want something else, but you're given the back rub. I don't know if that's do you guys understand what I'm saying with that one? right? It's not about the back rub. Okay? So many of us do this in subtle ways. We want to give to something, but we have this unsaid expectation attached to it. Okay, we have this expectation that someone's going to do X, Y, Z for me. So if you help a team member out to come to an event, if you help a team member out by buying them a cup of coffee, if you help a team member out by sleeping on the floor, and you have this hidden expectation attached, like, oh man, this person better hit rank 6 if I'm spending this $4 on this coffee. You know, they better hit rank 6. If you have even the slightest little bit of that, it actually works against you. Okay? Because it's not with the proper heart. So check your intention and check your motives before you give. Okay? It's what do they call it? A covert contract. That's what they call it, a covert contract. It's a contract that only one party is aware of. Okay? So there's a contract in place. I give to you, therefore you do this for me, but only one person knows that. The other person doesn't know that. They just think they're getting a cup of coffee. And you see where some of this frustration and stuff comes in. It has to be done out of a heart of gratitude. This is where you have to develop an abundance mindset. It's about an overflow of who you are. You're not trying to make up something that you're lacking. I want to say that again. By giving, you're not trying to make up something that you're lacking. You're just overflowing from who you are. Okay? So become the type of person, fill yourself up, take care of yourself first. Make sure that your tank's full, make sure that you're growing, make sure that you're brushing your teeth or getting massages or whatever you need to do to feel good throughout the day. Therefore, you have enough to give people. Make sure you're getting enough sleep at night. Make sure you're drinking your ketones every day. And then you're going to have a lot to overflow to people. And if you have a lot to overflow to people, guess what? You have no problem receiving it because you understand the concepts, right? You understand the concepts because number one, if you're doing the right things, don't you feel a little bit more worthy when someone gives you something? There's a myth about self-confidence out there, and I just want to bust it down right now. And I want to just be point blank with you guys. And that most people think that you're just entitled to self-confidence because you're a human being. And I want to tell you that's an absolute crock. It's an absolute bunch of BS. You are entitled to self-confidence when you do things that give you confidence, when you do the work that gives you confidence. If you're acting like an idiot, you don't deserve self-confidence. If you are doing things that bring you value, that bring the world value, that you know that you should be doing for yourself, then you deserve it, right? Sometimes lack of self-confidence, not all the time. I'm not talking about people that were abused or anything like that or their situations, but many times self-confidence is because you have not been taking care of yourself. You have been not doing the things that you know that you should do. You've been working against your own value system, not mine, not Mick's, not Camille's. You've been working against your own value system. And so then you don't have the self-confidence, right? You don't have the self-confidence. You don't have that swagger. But there's been times in your life that you can remember when you've been doing the things right, when you've been taking care of yourself, when you've been getting enough sleep. And how do you feel? You feel good. You feel like when someone maybe gives you something that, you know what? Yeah, okay, I'll take that. And you know what? I'll take it because I'm a giver too. And I know what it feels like to give to people. And I want to be just another vessel, right? I want to be a vessel that passes things on, pay it forward. There was a cool time in Starbucks drive-through. I don't know who told me this story. I think it was Anna told me this story, but there was a pay it forward in the Starbucks thing, right? And so you ever go through the drive-through? Has anybody ever done that? And someone has paid for you ahead of time? Does that happen to anybody? Well, we were part of one that went on for like a long time. It was like 20 cars or something like that. And what an amazing thing. That's what happens when you have a bunch of people that are filled up, that have some self-confidence, stepping into life, stepping into a situation where you're giving, because things flow forward. It creates a ripple effect. And what are we trying to do in this business, by the way? We're trying to create a ripple effect, right? We're trying to create a ripple effect. Is this starting to make sense? Because I always hear Brian Underwood say, like, you get rewarded for the value that you bring to the world. And the value that you bring to the world is through the ripple effect that you can create with this platform. How do you create a ripple effect with this platform? Well, you create a movement of giving. You create a movement of receiving and giving and passing it forward and paying it forward. That's more important than replication or duplication, by the way. It's the energy that you give forward. It's the attitude of gratitude that gets passed on. You're giving your skill set, you're giving your knowledge, you're giving your love, you're giving your heart to people. And guess what? That's going to get passed down. People are going to develop. You're going to get them around our community, our Prove It community. You're going to get that heart passed into your community. I can't wait till we're all sitting in Florida together. I can't wait till we're all at an event together. It's going to be absolutely insane after, what we've been through here. I want you to really think about this, because this really hinges on something. And I want you, if you don't have the self-confidence, I want you to, if you don't have the self-confidence right now to receive something, then I want you to ask yourself, I want you to go back to the drawing board. And I want you to ask yourself, what is one thing that I can do today that will bring value to myself? Okay, so if you're struggling with receiving, I want you to find one thing that you can do today that you could be proud of. Okay? If you have trouble with giving, I want you just to give something to somebody. I want you just to release something, and I want you to have no expectation attached to that except for the sheer joy of giving. That's the okay expectation to attach to it, by the way, is just the joy of giving something. The joy of living in abundance, the joy of experiencing life, because life isn't about everything that you achieve. One of our mentors said it to us. She says, it's not about increasing your standard of living. It's about increasing your standard of giving. That's why you make money. That's why you create relationships. It's about everything that we get. It's about giving. It's about passing it on. Or else, like Stephen King said, you're the richest guy in the funeral home. There's a song that I listen to called Gone, and it's about all these people and all these wealthy people and all these things and all these musicians and all these things that have just gone. And one of the last words of the song says, all the riches of the kings end up in wills. Every single king that's ever been on this planet, all this money is all in somebody's will, and it all gets passed on to somebody. So my question to you today is, will you be intentional about giving? Will you be intentional about receiving? Because it will change your life. It will change how you connect to people. It will actually open more doors to you. And you know what? Even if you don't feel like you can do it 100%, I would challenge you to try. So my action step for you today is to give something to somebody. I want you, it could be $1, it could be $2, you could buy someone coffee in Starbucks. It doesn't have to be a lot of money. I want you to bless somebody. It could be your waitress. It could be someone you go leave them a little bit bigger of a tip. Whatever you can do. It doesn't matter how small or it doesn't matter how big. Like Mick said, I would challenge you to open the channel. Okay? And I would challenge you to make that a regular part of your life. And I'm going to leave it there because I think we covered everything.
Oh yes. Je vais faire un petit recap. Est-ce que vous voulez un recap ou c'était clair? Vous avez tout compris? Non? Il y en a qui veulent un recap. Good. Donc, Nate, dans le fond, ce qu'il nous a apporté, c'est le fait, oui, de donner, ça fait partie de nous. Chaque humain, on veut donner, donner, donner. Puis, tu sais, surtout quand on a des enfants, on dirait qu'on comprend la valeur de donner. On ferait passer nos enfants en premier. On se mettrait devant l'autobus pour nos enfants. Mais dans le sens que il faut être capable de recevoir aussi. Puis, du moment que vous allez comprendre que recevoir, donner, c'est un genre de channel, OK? C'est quelque chose qui tourne, c'est une roue qui n'a pas de fin, c'est une roue infinie, un peu comme le 8, mais le signe de l'infini, OK? C'est... Oh, Mia! C'est d'être capable de recevoir aussi. Combien de fois dans votre vie, il y a quelqu'un qui veut vous donner quelque chose et vous vous sentez mal? Que ce soit, comme je disais tantôt, un cadeau, un café, un compliment. Parce que c'est pas obligé d'être quelque chose de concret. Ça peut être comme je viens de dire, un conseil, un compliment, un remerciement. Donc, souvent, ce que Nate disait, c'est que les personnes qui sont successful, les gens qui ont du succès, ils ont un cœur qui est prêt à donner continuellement. Mais pas donner pour attendre quelque chose en retour. Donner sans attente. Parce que imaginez si je donnais de mon temps à chacun de vous, par exemple, là, ce matin, je me suis connectée avec Daphné en Zoom. Imaginez si je lui donnais un flash coaching, puis que dans ma tête, je me disais, je donne un flash coaching, mais j'espère en maudit que d'ici la fin du mois, elle va atteindre son rang 5. Tu sais, ça serait vraiment malsain de penser comme ça. Pensez-y. Donc, quand vous donnez du temps à vos clients, est-ce que vous pensez à hostie, c'est quand qu'il va acheter sa boîte? Ou vous pensez juste à je veux aider mon client aujourd'hui, je veux l'aider dans ses besoins. Parce que les lois de l'univers, là, je les comprends pas toutes, mais si vous parlez à votre client en lui donnant de la valeur puis en pensant juste à c'est quand qu'elle va acheter, votre intention n'est pas la bonne et souvent vous allez retirer en fait, ce client-là va se retirer de votre vie souvent parce que l'intention est la mauvaise. Donc, pensez toujours à qu'est-ce que vous voulez donner, puis ne pas attendre de choses en retour. Ensuite, bon, là, je vais relire mes notes, là, vite, vite. L'abondance, c'est de donner. L'abondance, c'est de donner parce que tu le sais justement que si tu ouvres tes channels, ça va toujours te revenir anyway. Moi, je dis souvent, quand je donne quelque chose, quand c'est banal, quand je laisse passer quelqu'un dans la rue, là, que je l'ai vu de loin, puis je le sais qu'il n'y a personne qui va le laisser passer, moi, je m'arrête pour le laisser passer. Bien, je me dis toujours que je mets des points dans mon karma. OK? Donc, qu'est-ce que vous faites au quotidien pour mettre des points dans votre karma? OK? C'est vraiment ça. C'est là que vous allez ouvrir vos channels. Ce que j'ai trouvé bon aussi, c'est par rapport à Charles Poliquin quand il a dit « Je veux pas être la personne la plus riche du cimetière ». J'ai trouvé ça vraiment bon. Puis ça, c'est drôle parce que mes beaux-parents, s'il y a des personnes dans leur vie jusqu'à présent qui m'ont donné vraiment beaucoup sans attente, c'est mes beaux-parents. Ils m'ont hébergé, ils m'ont payé des voyages, des restaurants, des choses que je n'étais pas capable de me procurer moi-même. Puis ils m'ont toujours dit, on va mourir heureux, mais on va pas mourir en étant riche. Fait que ça m'a vraiment fait penser à ça quand il a dit ça. Ensuite, les givers, les gens qui donnent beaucoup sont souvent aussi des personnes qui écoutent beaucoup. Donc, quand vous êtes dans une position d'écoute, est-ce que vous êtes vraiment en écoute ou vous êtes déjà dans votre tête à penser à qu'est-ce que vous allez répondre ou vous êtes déjà en train de vous dire qu'est-ce que la personne a besoin ou vous êtes déjà en train d'assumer ce que la personne a besoin. Donc, quand vous êtes dans une position d'écoute, êtes-vous vraiment en position d'écoute? OK? Parce que souvent, la tête, elle roule, mais on écoute-tu vraiment? Ensuite, posez des questions. Soyez curieux. Soyez toujours conscient que la personne qui est devant vous a quelque chose à vous apprendre. Puis c'est ce qu'il disait, il a fait le parallèle avec les couples. Souvent, ce qui fait qu'un couple ne va pas bien ou quoi que ce soit, c'est parce que justement, on écoute sans écouter. Donc, écoutez les besoins des gens. Puis surtout, là, comme je le disais tantôt, mettez-vous en position de recevoir. Êtes-vous ouvert à recevoir ou êtes-vous fermé à recevoir? OK? Puis ça, là, je vais vous le dire, si vous êtes assez aware, vous êtes assez conscient des gens qui vous entourent, juste par la gestuelle, la physionomie des gens, vous allez le sentir s'ils sont ouverts ou fermés à vous écouter, à vous parler. Donc, souvent, c'est un miroir. Fait que si vous êtes assez ouvert à donner sans attente, vous allez ouvrir les gens autour de vous. C'est vraiment ça. Tu sais, la PNL, on en parle souvent de faire du mirroring, là. C'est vraiment ça. Il y a, tu sais, notre coach de PNL nous avait même dit que lui, il se met en cohérence avec tout le monde, puis il ouvre les gens. Fait que d'imiter la position, d'imiter les gestes que la personne fait, imiter le ton de voix, imiter même la respiration. Si tu te mets en cohérence avec l'autre, tu vas l'ouvrir. Fait que ça, commencez à essayer d'être aware à ça, pratiquez-le. Lui, il dit qu'il le pratique toujours dans les aéroports, dans l'avion. Quand même une belle place. Ensuite, je veux juste vous amener à réfléchir sur vous. Est-ce que vous bloquez votre propre magie? Est-ce que vous bloquez le fait de vouloir recevoir? Est-ce que quand les gens vous questionnent, vous posent des questions, vous complimentent, vous acceptez ou vous êtes bloqué? Fait que ça, encore une fois, c'est des prises de conscience qu'on vous amène. OK? Donnez sans attente, parce que si vous donnez avec attente, je vous le dis, ça va toujours revenir contre vous autres. Parce qu'à la base, vous n'aurez pas fait la bonne chose. Aimez-vous vous-même en premier, parce que pour être capable de donner, vous devez être votre priorité. Même si vous avez des enfants, même si vous avez un chum, une blonde, même si vous avez une entreprise, peu importe, là, vraiment, mettez-vous en premier. Et j'ai trouvé ça intéressant aussi que quand il a parlé c'est la dernière chose, là, la self-confidence, la confiance en soi, dans le sens que la confiance en soi, est-ce que ça existe vraiment? Moi, je suis un peu comme Nate là-dessus, j'y crois pas. On est confiant quand on fait des choses dans lesquelles on se sent confiant. Donc, faites des choses dans votre vie que vous vous sentez confiant, puis votre confiance en vous va augmenter puis va être là. Puis ça part de prendre soin de vous, vous mettre en priorité, bien dormir, méditer au besoin, boire vos ketones. Ça part vraiment de ça. Donc, ouvrez les valves, soyez prêts. Et une autre phrase, vous allez être récompensé par la valeur que vous donnez aux gens, au monde. Fait que, tu sais, quand on vous dit, là, donnez de la valeur à vos clients, donnez de la valeur sur vos réseaux sociaux, c'est ça. Si vous donnez de la valeur, ça va vous revenir. Fait que le call to action aujourd'hui, c'est de donner quelque chose à quelqu'un. C'est pas obligé d'être monétaire, hein. Ça peut être juste d'appeler quelqu'un puis de l'écouter parce que vous savez qu'il en a besoin. Ça peut être d'acheter un café, ça peut être de donner de l'argent à quelqu'un, peu importe. Mais aujourd'hui, le call to action, c'est de donner. Donc, sur ce, j'arrête l'enregistrement. On va prendre 3 questions s'il y en a. Puis ceux et celles qui écoutaient la reprise, j'espère que vous avez apprécié.